The United States is ready to make one of the most consequential decisions in history as the nation decides whether Donald Trump or Kamala Harris will be the leader of the free world. Tens of millions of voters will stream to the polls to cast their ballots after an unprecedented campaign that saw 2 assassination attempts and the Democratic incumbent drop out. The heavily anticipated result will either deliver America's first woman president or what once appeared to be an impossible comeback for Trump. The rivals campaigned into early Tuesday morning, with Trump giving a speech in the early hours of Election Day in Grand Rapids during a frenzied sweep of the swing states to pick up the critical final votes that could carry them to victory. Businesses started to board up their windows and the National Guard was deployed around the country, braced for chaos when the results start to come in.
Get rid of the Affordable Care Act and take us back to the days when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. Well, Philly, you know what I'm about to say. We are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. And we are not going back because ours is a fight for the future and ours is a fight for freedom, including the most fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. So, America, I am asking for your vote. And here is my pledge to you. As president, I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to the challenges you face. I am not looking to score political points. I am looking to make progress. And I pledge to listen to those who will be impacted by the decisions I make. I pledge to listen to experts. I pledge to listen to people who disagree with me. Because you see, I don't believe that people who disagree with me are the enemy. I'll give them a seat at the table. That's what real leaders do. That's what strong leaders do. And I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans. So Philadelphia, we are here together for many reasons, but probably one of the most important, because we love our country. We love our country. And when you love something, you fight for it. And I do believe it is one of the highest forms of patriotism, of our expression, of our love for our country, to then fight for its ideals, and to fight to realize the promise of America. I have always believed in our nation's promise because I have lived it. I grew up as a child of the civil rights movement. My parents would take me to the marches when I was in a stroller. And we all know, and we've read about it, at those marches, there were people from every walk of life who came together to fight for freedom and for opportunity. You know, growing up, I saw how hard my mother worked to give her daughters the same chances our country gave her. And I was blessed growing up to have family by blood and to have family by love, who instilled in me the values of community, of compassion, and faith. I've spent my life fighting for people who have been hurt and counted out, but who never stop believing that in our country, anything is possible. I have lived the promise of America. And today, I see the promise of America in everyone who is here, in all of you. We are the promise of America. We are the promise of America. I see its promise in the fathers and the mothers and the grandparents across our nation who work so hard every day for our children's future. I see it in the women who refuse to accept a future without reproductive freedom and in the men who support them. I see it in people of all ages who have knocked on doors, made calls, sent texts, and who will spend tomorrow driving their fellow Americans to the polls. I see it in Republicans who have never voted for a Democrat before, but who put the Constitution of the United States above party. And I see the promise of America in all the young leaders who are voting for the very first time. Where are you? I know you're here. I know you're here. And you who are determined to live free from gun violence, who are determined to tackle the climate crisis, who are ready to shape the world you inherit. To you in particular, I say, I see your power, and I am so proud of you. Can we all applaud our first-time voters? So, America, we started this campaign 107 days ago. And from the beginning, ours has not been a fight against something, it has been a fight for something. A fight for a future with freedom, with opportunity, and with dignity for all Americans. Our campaign has brought together people from all corners of this nation and from all walks of life, united by our love for our country and our faith in a brighter, stronger, and more hopeful future that we will build together. And tonight, then we finish as we started, with optimism, with energy, with joy, knowing that we, the people, have the power to shape our future, and that we can confront any challenge we face when we do it together. Generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. And now, the baton is in our hands. And to everyone who continues to pour so much of yourselves into this campaign as an extension of your love for our country, I thank you for your time, your effort, and the heart you are putting into this. And together, I know that together we are also intentional about, in this process, building community and building coalitions. And because of you, each of you, and collectively, our people-powered movement reflects a simple and undeniable truth, that we are all in this together. We are all in this together. So we have one day to get this done, which means now we need to get to work and get out the vote. So let's reach out once again to our family members, friends, classmates, neighbors, co-workers, knowing and reminding them that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And let us please remind everyone that your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power. So tonight I ask you one last time, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Trump backer Elon Musk implored people to vote like your life depends on it during an almost 3-hour interview with Joe Rogan, who gave his endorsement to the former president. He argued that Harris policies would lead to so many illegal migrants being allowed to stay in the country, and given U.S. citizenship, there would forever be a bias towards the Democrats across the country for decades to come. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance. I think this is the last election. If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election. When Rogan asked him whether the argument was little more than a conspiracy theory, Musk, who has been actively campaigning for Trump in the final weeks, doubled down on his comments. Trump last night held his closing event in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the same spot he rounded off his campaigns in the last 2 elections. Meanwhile, Harris, 60, turned to Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Oprah Winfrey, and Ricky Martin for her star-studded final plea to voters in Pennsylvania. Oprah issued a threat similar to one Musk has put out from the opposite side of the aisle, that democracy is on the brink if the other candidate wins. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again, Winfrey said. She added, all the anxiety and the fear you're feeling that because you sense the danger. The 78-year-old former president finished up the campaign, where he finished his previous 2, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with a marathon rally speech that stretched well past 2 a.m. as attendees headed for the exits. He told his loyal MAGA fans he would fix what Harris has broken, while the vice president warned of the freedoms her rival would take away if elected. Doing 4 of these in one day is a little difficult not really because the love at every one of them has been like this. It makes it a lot easier, Trump said as he took the stage at Van Andel Arena at 12:15 a.m. He remained his unpredictable self on the stump, at one point mouthing an insult toward former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. She's an evil, sick, crazy. It starts with a B, but I won't say it. I want to say it, he said. However, he rounded out with a message of hope for a victory for himself and his base. The ball's in our hand. All we have to do is get out the vote tomorrow. You get out the vote, they can't do anything about it, we win. This will be the single greatest victory, politically speaking, in the history of our country. After more than 900 rallies over 9 years, Trump seemed to accept that it could be his last time on the trail, while Harris told crowds, we are not going back. This could be one of the closest races in history. Every single vote matters, Harris told the crowd in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the state that could ultimately decide the election. And I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans, she added in the speech, where she didn't mention Trump's name. A flurry of polls shows the race could be the closest U.S. election in decades. The pair are virtually inseparable in 7 key battleground states that will decide the outcome, and most pollsters say the race is a coin flip. Those states are the Rust Belt industrial powerhouses of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and the so-called Sun Belt states of Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. Early voting surged, with over 80 million Americans already casting their ballots by mail or in person. Meanwhile, the world is anxiously watching, as the outcome will have major implications for conflicts in the Middle East and Russia's war in Ukraine.
To serve all of us. I believe we can do that, and I know she can do that. Yes, she can. Yes, she can.
Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win? This is it. Just one more day. One more day. One more day left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and momentum is on our side. Momentum is on our side. We are optimistic and excited about what we will do together, and we here know it is time for a new generation of leadership in America. To offer that leadership as the next President of the United States of America. America is ready for a fresh start. Love you, Steve. And America is ready for a new way forward, where we see our fellow American not as an enemy, but as a neighbor. We are ready. We are ready for a president who understands that the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it is based on who you lift up.
In Washington, D.C., growing numbers of businesses and office buildings are being boarded up in case violence follows a disputed result. In the first results of Election Day in the tiny New Hampshire community of Dixville Notch and its 6 residents, Trump and Harris tied with 3 votes each. It was his 4th rally of the day and followed a mad dash across North Carolina and Pennsylvania. If we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole ball of wax. It's over, Trump told one of his crowds in Raleigh, Pennsylvania. Later in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he promised a new golden age for America. He told a raucous crowd we're on the 1-yard line. I will fight for you. Kamala broke it. I will fix it. Kamala, you're fired. Pennsylvania has the most votes in the Electoral College of any of the 7 swing states, and it is seen as potentially the one that will decide the White House. Harris went all in on Pennsylvania on her final day of campaigning, with stops in 4 cities. In Allentown, Pennsylvania, she told a crowd, we need everyone in Pennsylvania to vote. You are going to make the difference in this election. She ended with a rally on the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, made famous in an iconic scene from the boxing underdog movie Rocky. Harris framed herself as the underdog in the race and leaned on her celebrity support as she was joined by Lady Gaga and Oprah Winfrey. Taylor Swift, who has endorsed Harris, was at a Kansas City Chiefs game Monday night supporting her boyfriend Travis Kelce.
I understand that. We can have that debate. But what does it tell you that some of this country's most decorated soldiers and Marines, men who served under Donald Trump as his chief of staff, as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, have seen Donald Trump up close, and they have said that he is scornful toward those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, that he does not understand the concepts of duty and honor, and that he is not fit to serve as our commander-in-chief. If you are black or Latino, and you feel like too often your community is overlooked by politicians except during election time, I get how you feel. But why would you think the answer is to vote for someone who has a long history of demeaning and disregarding your communities, whose family business was sued for not renting to folks that look like you, who cannot apparently understand how an NBA superstar could be both Greek and black, who suggests any Mexican crossing the border is a criminal and a rapist, who spreads ridiculous fantasies that Haitians are eating people's pets, who just this past week arranged for one of his supporters to tell jokes about black people eating watermelon and Puerto Rico being an island of garbage right there on stage at Madison Square Garden. Do you think that's somebody who's going to look out for you? Maybe you're Muslim American or Jewish American, and you are heartbroken and furious about the ongoing bloodshed in the Middle East and worried about the rise of anti-Semitism. Why would you place your faith in somebody who instituted a so-called Muslim ban, who sat down for pleasantries with Holocaust deniers, who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally? And if any of you have a dad or an uncle.
But Swift posted an extremely important reminder to her 283 million followers to vote. A final poll of the 7 swing states by Emerson College Polling showed Trump ahead by 2 percentage points in Arizona and 1 percentage point in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina. Harris had a 2-point advantage in Michigan, while Nevada and Wisconsin were tied. At 78, Trump is the oldest major party nominee ever to run for U.S. president and miraculously survived an assassination attempt on July 13th, when he was shot in the ear before rising to his feet and shouting, "Fight, fight, fight, fight." Despite criminal convictions for falsifying business records over a hush money payment to a porn star and the lingering specter of his supporters' violent attack on Congress 4 years ago, he goes into Election Day with major advantages. Polls show 3/4 of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track, and widespread dissatisfaction with inflation during the Biden-Harris administration. On the campaign trail, Trump echoed Ronald Reagan by asking voters, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" Harris countered by focusing heavily on the issue of abortion and repeatedly accusing Trump of being a threat to democracy and wanting to be a dictator. "I will be a president for all Americans," Harris told a last-day crowd in Pennsylvania. "Momentum is on our side. Can you feel it?" Veteran Democratic strategist James Carville said her closing argument, declaring Trump a threat to democracy, would resonate. He said, "I think national law is actually more important than the price of eggs, because eggs can go up and down, but peace, if you lose it, you might not ever get it back." David Koshel, Republican strategist, said the closing arguments have been made. "It's not really about persuasion now, it's about turnout. And that's where all the energy of the campaigns are going to be directed." At this point, people's minds are made up. There are very few people out there to convince at this point, and if they're deciding between voting or sitting on the couch.